Hey guys, as I mentioned before, I'm a bit behind with some of my uploads, so I'm sorry about that. But today's video is me testing out some Pinterest ideas on my Halloween pumpkins. The three images you're seeing right now are the inspirations for my pumpkins. Sorry for the bad quality, I don't know what happens when I was trying to combine the images, but I couldn't do it any other way, so I will be putting the individual pictures up throughout the video in their original quality so you can see them a bit better. Here we go! Okay, so the first one I'm doing is the melted crayon pumpkin. Simple and easy. So for this you're going to need a heat gun, some crayons in whatever colour or colours you want, obviously a pumpkin, and something to stand it on. So I accidentally deleted the footage of me making this, which is really frustrating, but all you do is take off the paper label from the crayon. I broke the crayons in half because I'm using a small pumpkin, but you don't have to do that if you're using a bigger one. Then I placed them in the natural creases of the pumpkin and slowly went over them with the heat gun and tried to melt them evenly and direct them out and down to decrease the mixing of colours so it didn't look like poop, basically. And the second and most time consuming design I'm doing is the painted sugar skull pumpkin. Mine isn't going to be anywhere near as detailed as this one though because it's smaller and I'm pushed for time. So lesson 1. Pencils don't work on pumpkins and I'm an idiot for trying. However, I have an orange felt tip pen that worked just fine. So I started drawing out my sugar skull. This doesn't have to be neat and it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make because we're going to paint over it anyway. This is just so you have a mental picture of how big the face needs to be so that you can fit all of your desired details in and where they're all going to be when you do draw them out later on so that you don't make mistakes then. So here I'm just starting the first coat of white paint. I'm using normal poster paints because it's the only kind of paint that I have a large enough amount of. It took at least 5 coats to get a coverage that was opaque enough, so it took all day because I had to let each coat dry completely before adding the next, otherwise it would be all streaky and horrible. Here I'm using my pencil to draw out the design on top of the white paint. My paint was still wet, so it made grooves instead of drawing, but that was fine for me. You might want to wait until it's dry, but bear in mind if you do that, the paint may crumble if you push too hard when you're drawing. So I'm using black, purple, lilac and pink poster paints to fill in my design. First I'm getting my black paint and filling in the eye and nose holes, then the purple for the petals around the eyes, and then the purple, lilac and pink for the flower on the forehead. Again, the paint was still wet, so it mixed a little bit, but I wanted to get as much done as possible for that night so I knew exactly what I was doing and I could go over it the next day with another coat to tidy it all up. I just had to let it dry overnight. Okay, so I finished going over my design and let that dry all day. Now I'm taking some lilac pearlescent paint in a Sharpie and I'm adding the finishing touches to my sugar skull. With a black Sharpie I'm outlining the eyes, nose and flower and drawing on the mouth and cheekbone swirls. This was a little difficult because pumpkin skin is quite waxy, so it didn't want the ink to adhere to it, but if you just take it slowly it will work, and again be careful of the paint flaking. You don't want to ruin your design when you're so close to finishing. Okay, so now I'm taking my lilac pearlescent paint and I'm adding little accents to the forehead, cheekbone swells and chin, just for a different texture and dimension. Okay, so the last design is inspired by this picture, but it isn't going to be as close to the inspiration as the other two pumpkins were. Whilst looking for inspiration for these pumpkins, I saw loads of different glitter pumpkins and I really liked them, but I bought the pumpkins before I chose my final three designs and I didn't have any glitter. So instead of choosing between waiting until I had glitter or doing a simple paint drip pumpkin, I realised I had pink glitter paint and combined those two ideas. It was pretty simple and I just put a little bit in the top of the pumpkin for a starting point, then went around and put drips down each crease. The paint was quite thick. It was sort of halfway between normal paint and glue. So I used my paintbrush to help tease the glitter paint so that my drips were as even as I could get them while still looking like natural drips. And again, just let that dry overnight. So here are all three of my designs finished and dried. A couple of my wax strips did sadly snap off because of the cold weather, but I still think they all look pretty cool and I'm happy with them, so that's really all that matters, I guess. So that's it, guys. Those were my 3 pumpkins this year. Sorry again that this video is so late, but to be honest, I was late making them anyway. This year has been mental. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. I don't make videos for any sort of profit or anything. I just do them because I like it. But I also love seeing when other people are enjoying the videos that I make. And as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Take care and goodbye.